After that, I read Blacksad, Red Soul. That is a little bit misleading. Basically, I had got for my brother Mark a collection of Blacksad, hardbound one, and that is the last story in the hardbound edition. Blacksad is written by, I believe, okay, hopefully I get this correct. The order is Juan Diaz Canales and illustrated by Juajo Guarnido. They're two Spanish comic book writer-artists that I think both of them worked for Disney at one time, and you can really pick up on that, I mean in the art. And it's basically film noir, anthropomorphic, which has been done a bit, but it's done in a really smart, interesting way where they're very good at incorporating elements of the animals that the different characters are and how they relate to each other, and a lot of the characteristics that the person has are reflected in whatever animal that Juan chooses to express those certain characteristics. For instance, the second volume, Arctic Nation, is about it's pretty specifically, it's about white power, about neo-Nazis and all that. So it's all these white animals, but you also have a little bit on the side. You have the black power, like the Black Panther movement, and those are all these black animals, but they're kind of African American, but not really. I mean, it's just it's a really smart thing that they do. The main character is a black cat. But he's got this little white stripe, so he's considered to be sort of mixed race or something, which I think is really funny. But this specific volume, Red Dawn, I think, Red Soul, is all about the communist scare, and he is working in California. Is he working in California or Nevada? And he just gets involved in this because he knows this professor who had these sort of he was sort of a sympathizer, and then he just was part of this group of people that were all either Marxist socialists or had those kind of leanings. And just a really interesting kind of take on that whole period of time. And some of the characters are pretty obviously supposed to be based on specific people, and others it's a little more vague. But it's so good art. I think it's either watercolor or gouache. If you can pick that up, it's just beautiful, beautiful art. I'd really like to see a movie made on that. I think that'd be great. But maybe it's good enough on itself. I always think about things being adapted in films. So, Blacksad. And then the last one I read was The Amulet of Samarkand, which is part of the Bartimaeus trilogy, although there's a fourth book that takes place before the first book that I got for Christmas back in 2011. I still haven't read that. The Ring of Solomon. That is a juvenile series about this djinn, this demon named Bartimaeus, and in this world, it's a fantasy series. Magicians they have very limited power, basically. The power that they have is mainly to summon demons or jinn to do things. Their abilities to do any magic by themselves is very, very limited. So the jinn or the demons are essentially their slaves. and the more powerful a wizard is, will dictate sort of how much control, how great of a demon they're able to summon, and then what measure of control they have over them, because there's all these different books and spells that are that control a demon and say you can do this and you can't do that, and a lot of summoning circles, and just a lot of it's about politics and about power. Ugh, I wish I could remember the name of the main character, but it's this kid who's an apprentice magician, apprentice sorcerer, and he summons Bartimaeus at the beginning of the book, but it takes place in two perspectives. Part of it is the perspective of the boy, and part of it's the perspective of Bartimaeus. So the very first is where he first summons Bartimaeus, and then it goes back to when he's a kid before he becomes an apprentice magician, and when Bartimaeus, I think whatever happens before then, he's being controlled by someone else. But another interesting thing about it takes place in England. I'm pretty sure the writer, Jonathan Stroud, is a British writer. There's this kind of stratification of the society where people who are magicians are basically the nobility and they control everything, and people who don't control magic are the peasants or the merchants, the working class people, and they all basically work for magicians, because magicians are the people who control Parliament and the Crown and whatever. So that was good. I thought it was a really interesting, exciting story. It was surprisingly violent, but I don't know, maybe I'm just easily offended or something. Need to probably go back and read the rest of those. But that is February.